You're listening to All in a Day here on CBC Radio 1, 91.5 in Ottawa. As we speak, the board members of the United Way Ottawa are gathered at the Hellenic Centre for their annual general meeting. One issue that's sure to come up is the United Way's new funding policy. There have been plenty of complaints about the policy from longtime funding recipients. Now, Keenan Wellar has a different perspective. He's the co-leader of LiveWorkPlay, another group that works with those with intellectual disabilities. It also gets funding from the United Way. We've reached Keenan Wellar on the line. Hi there, Keenan.
Hi, Alan.
I wonder what your reaction is to what Brian Tardif had to say there, the idea that the United Way's focus shifting to being on employment.
I guess I look at things a bit differently. I don't see a funder as having a responsibility for supporting the budget of our organization. We're a bit more focused on what we're trying to do and then who could we partner with. And with the United Way, that's going to be actually a new partner for us in our goal of helping people obtain employment, for example. But other things we do, the United Way doesn't support that, and we'll be partnering with other people for those goals.
But what was your reaction when you heard Brian Tardif on the air?
Well, I just think people have different perspectives, I guess, about what relationships with funders are all about. And I think with our agency, I think we've been used to, for quite a few years, that we'll have to reach out to a lot of different partners in order to do what we want to do, because we also certainly support Mr. Tardif's goal of helping people find healthy relationships in the community that can be shared with people with intellectual disabilities. We just know that at this time that's not something we would look to the United Way to accomplish.
Why?
Because they prioritized on this focus of employment, understanding, of course, that within the disability sector there is endless things that could be done. Obviously, one funder can't do all those things. So at this time, they followed a process and came up with a priority that's certainly an important one, and it works well with us with what we do in employment, and it doesn't work in other things, so we go elsewhere for those things.
Do you understand, though, where the groups are coming from who are concerned about the shift in those priorities?
I think I had a lot of concerns with the United Way about 10 years ago that I publicly expressed, and one of them was the priorities weren't very clear, and they weren't very open to all the agencies in the community that might be able to do a good job with that work. So I think a lot of the changes they made, it's something, personally and professionally that I've been watching them work towards over the past decade. And to me, it's really exciting to see a funder that can be clear about what they do, and also about the best practice of let's do the best we can to get this work done. Because
of the transparency involved, is what you're saying.
The transparency involved, and the fact that they do engage cross-sector people in coming up with those priorities and coming up with who they're going to fund. To me, it's really clear where those decisions came from, and that's all I can ask for as an agency. I can't force them to choose my priorities, but as long as if every funder had a process like that, it would be really helpful, so that we all knew this is who we need to partner with to do what we want to do.
I mean, I'm sure there are people listening to this, though, thinking, well, okay, of course he's not as upset about this. He's not one of the groups that lost all its United Way funding. What suggestions do you then have for those groups that are saying, look, we aren't necessarily employment focused. We are needing that kind of funding coming from someplace like the United Way?
Sure. Well, to be clear, over a year ago, I came out publicly supporting these changes with no clue that this was going to result in funding directly for the agency that I work with, and that wouldn't change if we didn't receive funding. If they change their minds in future, I support the process. As for what agencies should do, I mean, the United Way is not even close to being the only funder that supports charities. There's 3,000 charities in Ottawa that are all in existence, and the United Way supports, I believe, is the latest figure. So obviously there are thousands of charities that have to go elsewhere.
Sorry, Keenan, your phone just cut out there as you were giving us the numbers.
Sure. Well, I know that it's 150 or so agencies that the United Way supports, so there would be thousands of local charities alone that do go elsewhere to accomplish what they are looking to do.
When I wonder for groups that are focusing particularly on matching people with intellectual disabilities, are there a shortage of groups? I know what you're saying about there being other agencies out there for funding. Do you think those groups in particular are having a harder time with finding funders?
They could be. I mean, that is also something that our agency does. We have about 120 volunteers in the community spending time with our members, and that's not a United Way funded activity. So between fundraising and other grantors and funders, we're putting that together. And I'd be happy to discuss some of those opportunities with people.
Does it tend to be a divisive time when certain groups are getting funding and other groups are losing it?
I don't know. I mean, I don't know any funder that funds everybody, so I'm kind of new to this whole idea. I actually don't get it. I'm shaking my head a bit at the whole uproar because there are lots of funders that have never supported us and perhaps never will because their priorities don't match. I mean, United Way was one of them. They happened to change their priorities, and now it's a fit. But I haven't been complaining every year that they didn't fund us, and because it didn't match up. So other funders will shift as well. It's just the way it goes.
All right. Keenan, thanks for your time today.
Okay, pleasure.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
That's Keenan Wellar, who's co-leader of LiveWorkPlay.